there. We did relate it with its source. Okay, so link is the one that we didn't touch upon. We already did around, and date range is retired, cache is retired, image size no longer working. So we've got link that is left out. Let's look at another operator we call link. Now, link is very peculiar in the sense that sometimes it seems that it's not giving us all that we require, but basically its function is to collect all the links that are out there for a particular domain or whatever link that you have set with it. The entire length of it you can place in front of the colon sign, like I would do it in this case. I should just put link with the colon sign. And let's see what it does first, and then I'll tell you what is the main use of it. So I'm going to look for examples in link. And let's see, AOFIRS.org. Let me bring some results and then I will start to explain it. Now, link is going to get me all the links that are out there, which are floating around in the indexes, but not necessarily coming from my own original website. If I just use it as a word, or if I use it as a domain, then the domain is considered to be a search term. So anything that is going to be after the link colon is considered words and not as a domain. So you don't necessarily have to place the domain name entirely with the dot extension in it. So even though I've used AOFIRS.org, Sergey is here. Hi, Sergey. Almost on time. We just were starting, getting ready. So good that you joined us at this time.
My apologies, I'm late.
Not to worry. I was just talking about like one thing that we didn't do, which was one operator we left when we did our source. That I thought was the last one. There's one more, and this is called link colon. It is very useful for you, especially if you are probing into the links that are out there, not using in URL, but using the link operator, which basically is going to crawl into the links of all those index pages that are there. And I don't know if I mentioned to you, there are 3 different types of links, basically in the sense of how they are treated by the index of search engine, not the URL in the sense of how in URL works with it, but in the sense of how the entire links are set. Like it could be anything that starts with HTTPS : and so on. So all those are links, and those links are 3 different types, depending on what your interest is, or the objective of your collecting those links, basically. So if there is a link that you want to see that belongs to a certain domain, you can obviously put the entire domain name in front of it. Like here it says link :AOFIRS. If I just put .org, that's what it's going to look for in terms of all the links that belong to this domain. Second type of link that it would look for is what they call the outgoing links, or any links that are basically going outside onto the websites that don't belong to that current website, or the one that you are basically the one that you are on. For example, right now, if I'm on AOFIRS.org and I want to see how many of links that point to another website are present in my own web site, I can probe that. Instead of going through the sitemap, I can just look for outgoing links, and then there are incoming links, which would be all the links that are out there which are pointing to my domain or my website or my web pages. And there is another kind of link that are called anchor links. I don't know if you heard about it, what anchor link does. And if I can find the example of anchor links, I'll show you what I mean. Anchor links are important for marketing reasons or SEO reasons. And I'm going to find it for you. Just give me a moment. Yeah, here it is. Anchor link. This is an example of anchor link. If you see this slide, you can see that these are, the different content. This is lorem ipsum. It doesn't matter. The important thing is to follow where my arrow is right now. So supposing that there is something that a text that is really not showing a link, but rather it turns out to be a hypertext, which means it is a clickable text. So if I have something on my website that says, for example, take AOFIRS, and if I can find the anchor link, I'll give you an example of it. It's not difficult. You've seen it many times. It is found anywhere where you see something that is clickable. And clickable means that it is a text, and behind that text, there is a link, which we call hyperlink. Hyperlink literally means anything that is clickable. So where is it? Like learn more, for instance. Learn more is a text, and behind that text, there is a link. If I click on it, it's going to take me to that link. So the anchor text is the word learn more over here. Clicking on it means that it is a hyperlink or it is an anchor link. Okay. So what happens is, a lot of times the wordings are set on websites which you need to discover, or for you to see where the links are pointing to your site. They could be hiding behind a text somewhere on other websites, and you want to know what that text is, or you are trying to find the anchor links which are using wordings that are optimized for the search engine for the reason of the keywords which you would rather use. Or in a lot of articles and blogs, you could see that they are written with the intention that people click on certain words and it would just break away from that particular website and take you to another website. Or if it is your website that it's pointing to, that the hypertext is behind the wordings which are very important for the search engine to identify as the important words, or the kind of words that can be optimized for the search engine to give it a favorable ranking. So all those links that are out there with a hypertext or with the anchor text, you need to discover to find out who else, or how prominently your website is actually pointed to by others, so that the ranking can be given to it by the search engine based on the popularity, because that popularity has one element, and that is the incoming links, or how many of the incoming links are pointing to it. So those discoverable links are also something that you'd be interested in. However, the bad news is that the link colon operator is not going to look for the anchor text. There used to be another operator that was called in anchor or all in anchor with the colon sign, and that sort of have disappeared. And therefore, to find those anchor links these days, you need a specialized software. And if here is the software as an example, which you can use. And that has nothing to do with the search query building, but rather it is a utility that can be easily subscribed to. And you can basically put a domain name here. If you're looking for domain, it's going to reveal all those links that are not really um, coming, those links that are pointing to your domain or to your site. So all these are all external links, which means that if I click on this, for example, I will get to a page that would have a link associated with airsassociation.org. So this is the way that you're going to be able to discover it, but not through link. So let me just apply the link operator, and I'm trying to give an example here and saying that with the link colon, you don't necessarily have to use a domain name as in site operator, which specifically requires you to put the entire domain name, because link colon after whatever you put in is considered text, not the domain. So anything that is going to be put after it, even if it is org, it is considered text. Um, and over here in the second instance, if I use link colon with AOFIRS without .org, it's still going to be considered as something to be found in the link. But the utilization of this is slightly different, or the effectiveness of this is slightly different from how we use in URL. In URL use is used in the search query to restrict query in finding certain words within that search or within URLs. But in this case, it is going to scrape through the entire data or entire index pages which are available that has all these words in it. So when I say link colon AOFIRS, it is going to give me all the links that are out there which are indexed by Google. And here it found 2,550 links. But it is not necessarily going to be restricted to AOFIRS.org. See, like right here, it has something that looks at AOFIRS.org, but it is coming from getpocket.com. Similarly, link that is not shown over here, but it could be anywhere in the description or in the title of the snippet. As you could see, like right here, it is mentioning AOFIRS.org. When we did link colon, it discovered it in the entire content page, not necessarily in the URL portion. So link is going to discover all of those links that are out there, which has a mention of AOFIRS.org. As you could see very well, especially for me to find out how popular my site is, or if there are people talking about it, or there's a reference to my site somewhere, or AOFIRS.org is entirely used anywhere as a reference, including in Wikipedia and so on. So all that becomes discoverable for me. Similarly, link colon just AOFIRS, that means it's a mention of the abbreviation of my association, and therefore this could be anywhere, but the number of results are more. Here you can see they're not restrained to .org, but AOFIRS could have been mentioned in several more places without necessarily having .org. So more results. So I got 7,810 results. This is important I mean, there could be so many different reasons for it, but that's not why we are talking, or we're just looking at how to use this and in what sense it can apply. But at the same time, I'd like you to compare it with another operator, source, for example. And with source, I am also trying to discover any mention of those words that can be tied to the original source of where it is coming from, or the source operator here means that irrespective of finding things that has any links mentioned with that name, it could also mean that the discoverability of those words in different file formats gets revealed also. So it basically is a broader search compared to the link colon, and it is picking up image files anywhere where this naming is used. So if I use source, I can use source in two ways, as I mentioned to you before as well. Yesterday, I'm sorry, on Friday, we talked about the source, and I showed you how Google is now showing the source as a separate pop-up. You recall, Lauren, yes, Friday we talked about the operator, the source operator.
Yes, and it showed the pop-up where when it had the three dots and you could click on that and something would come up, but I don't remember the slide or anything like that.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to find. I obviously I couldn't mark it at that time because we were, you know, just covering up the sequence of those slides. Let me see. If I can find it, fine. Otherwise, I'll show you what it does for us. The basic idea was to tell you that Google search is become a little bit different with use of source operator, because it now wants to discover it on its own and present it to you in a pop-up. And that pop-up reveals where the source originated, or where the file was, or the date and time when it was actually uploaded, and the name of the author is also revealed. So that is now bringing results automatically, but it's in a beta format, which means it's being tested. So it is not occurring with the frequency as I would have imagined that it would, but it seems that it is off and on appearing. And this is how typically the search engine is testing something. So, so we were doing link. Now I'm going to attempt to do source. Let's do source here. I'm going to put n by times, and the topic I want COVID. So when I use source and I declare right in front of it the source itself of where I want the information to originate from, or somehow, I mean, it's not like I'm specifying the link or the domain. In this source situation, we are identifying the word that pertains to the originating source, or it has a precedence of producing certain pieces of information that is related to COVID, except those information pieces are arranged hierarchically in when it was uploaded, or when it initially got uploaded as an article or as any piece of information. So the word COVID I've used more in a generic way, and I've used n by times as a source. The source has the ability to discover more in-depth information, like even the videos get discovered, like in YouTube, a lot more videos you will see, a lot more information that could be coming from even research papers, or you could think of it as all aspects of information and the all formats in which it becomes available to us on the search pages. So it is a more deeper search when you compare it with link. So link is usually again used to discover all sorts of links that has those wordings in it. And the source is going to discover everything, including the link and all else that is out there with those, you know, New York Times mentioned in it. Even if there is a story from, let's say, a Hindu Times, and somehow it has originated from New York Times, or there's a mention of New York Times, it's going to show up. Unlike in URL, which is going to confine it or find all those within links, and even more stricter site colon is going to restrain it to that specific domain of New York Times. But when you do the source, it is collecting it from all over, and anything that it can scrape and bring it to you. Like this one, New York Times is the originator, or the one that actually has that, or has, you could say that if it is a breaking news, then you always want to do source colon, for example, to see who is the one that originally produced this. Or if it is a local newspaper and you want to find from the clutter of things, like if it is a more local news or incident has happened on the ground somewhere in small town, and if you can just write the name of that newspaper and put it against source, you will see that it is going to discover it. And also as the time goes, or with the timeline, you could see that it is being picked up by other news agencies. But at the same time, the source got discovered, where you can tell that this is where it is coming from, and all other news agencies start to carry that story or build on top of it. So when there you have got this dilemma, or this is what you need to know, then source colon is what you're going to use. Don't use source colon with any other operator. Similarly, don't use link with any other operator. I mean, they are solo. They don't work with any other operator that you put with them. Even if you put or to extend it or give it another option, it's not going to work. Similarly, with link, you can find link with a declared property, which is going to be only one instance of that operator link, and you will not be able to add another one. So just be mindful of that. And this is all that we had to know. And we have to now at this point conclude our advanced search operators, which we did thoroughly. Now, complex search are going to be examples or scenarios which sort of gives you an idea of how different operators work together. So it is more of a selection of how, see, previously, if you remember, mostly we did each operator at a time. Like when we did in title, we continued with the examples that were all about in title, and similarly with others also. So far, we tried not to use any other operator along with it, except with few exceptions we did with file type that we added, and we did site colon and all that. But more so to see how all those operators combine and work together, we will be applying them in complex searches. So let's just start with some examples, which I'm going to pick up from the book. I do have them here, but I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to go deeper into it and see if they're all applicable. Okay, I mean, there is so much that we can cover. It's unending. It's never over, with the examples. But there was one slide which I thought would have a good mix of complex search queries. Here it is. Let's look at this slide. And if we need to, I'll refer to the book off and on. So this is a list of search operators that are used together with others. And let me see if I can just copy and paste them in the search box, so you can take it as a home assignment, or you would be able to get a revision done if you get to practice them. So I'm going to, for now, just place them in the chat box and hope that you would be able to copy and paste it somewhere. Mr. Akintula, you won't be able to do it, so I'll email it to you, okay? But for quick transmission of this, like right away, I'm just going to put it in the chat. Where is my chat? What the heck happened to the chat? Where is my chat? Sorry. So just copy and paste it, okay? This is FYI, just for your information. Now I'm going to go back to these slides, and I'll see if we can practice with these for complex searches. Now, now most of these, like some of these are not as complex. So, I mean, they're categorized in complex, but they may not be. So I'm just going to leave the easy ones out. I'm going to look at this one, for instance. Now I'll put it in my notepad, bring it in front of you, look at and see what it's trying to do. We have used few things which we never talked about, and that is the use of the periods, like 2 periods, to give it a range. For example, one of the things that you have to imagine, or basically take it as a part of the semantics that search engine is capable of, is to understand alphanumerics or just numerics if they are set in a certain way. For instance, if it is a phone number you are looking for, it would recognize area codes. If the formation or the way you've structured the phone number, like, within brackets as the area code, and how we write it, it would know that you are referring to the telephone number. Similarly, if it is a zip code in US, and even, well, I think I would be able to talk more with confidence if it has to do with North American, because that's what I have practiced with, and I've discovered that if it is a zip code in US or the postal code in Canada, it gets recognized automatically, not as number, but rather is considered either a zip code or a postal code. So it is by default that search engine builds certain databases or keeps certain information which works in as if it is using a lexical semantics, which is the understanding of certain alphanumeric characters to give it a meaning automatically, or it is understood as the kind of information which can be translated by search engine. One of the other things that it is capable of doing is the name diminutives, like Liz is for Elizabeth, for example, Dave is for David. So all Christian names get translated. The language plays a role where you are putting something in German language in the search, or let's suppose you are discovering group. Now I'm just, because I don't have a lot of time to give you the example, so I'm just giving you a kind of information that you will have to sort of remember or discover it in the book somewhere. So if you can just visualize and just follow my words, I'm going to just explain it, rather than put it in as examples. So if there is a situation where language is what is required for you to search into with for reasons that could mean that you are looking for a source from Germany, or you're looking for information from a certain social media platform as in LinkedIn or Facebook, and assuming that that localized version of LinkedIn or Facebook, again coming back as if it is from Germany, let's suppose, it would have in its link the wordings in German language. So gruppen is the word that replaces groups, for instance. So if you are going to probe into the group using in URL, and it has to do with the German version, or the sources from Germany, you'd rather be using gruppen, as the word is actually used in the links that get built for the local version. So familiarization with the link and knowing that certain wordings are translated even in the URLs, you would want to do that. Similarly, if you want to look for a news that has its origin or somewhat is in the language other than English, then you would want to use abbreviations of those language codes which search engine provides, or which search engine assumes, not assumes, but rather uses extensively, or its textual database understands it extensively. Like FR is for French, HI is for Hindi, and so on and so forth. So there could be so many more, and they are also placed in your book in a sort of a sequence which gives you an idea of when it comes to putting, especially in the length of the link, these language translations and the country codes are mentioned. So if you want to do a localized search, you can always use those abbreviations. Third thing is that you could also translate or put something from English to, let's say, in the, well, let me, in the third instance where we are going to talk about defaulting onto a language or the source of information, for example, from Ukraine. And we have the right guy here, he's from Ukraine. Sergey is here. So I'm going to pull this example and show you how you can do a localized search for or from the countries other than North America or anywhere in the world, so that your origin of news or your source of information is defaulting on to or coming from that source, from that region or that country. Why would it be necessary or important for you to collect sources or to restrict your source of information from country other than North America? Sergey, why would you be searching for things in Ukraine while sitting here in US? Or in Canada, sorry. Why would you do that? Give me one example of or your experience or where you would rather be doing or searching something from Ukraine. Sergey, you there?
To be honest, in my experience, I've never done it. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, you don't have to have done it, but let's suppose you would like to, assuming if in that case, what would you look for? Your local news or some sorts of anything that helps you in your profession, or nothing at all, eh?
Well, the local news would be useful. Yeah, if you want a specific point of view or a specific angle on the news, for example, if there is a local conflict, you might want to limit the search to a specific site of the conflict.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you're saying that if it is a bias from Eastern Europe on some issue or something that wants a point of view that is coming from Eastern European side, which a lot of times is different from the North America side. So you can get both versions of it, or you could see what sort of information is actually originating from that part of the world. That is one reason. The other reason is when you're doing some research for certain companies and some of the CEOs or some of the high-powered executives have links to Ukraine, or there is a rumor circulating where certain pieces of information are missing or is not available here in North America, you can always look for it or look for a background check in Ukraine. And if it is research paper, especially that has to do with, the science that has to do with defense industry, like we got a research where we had to find certain papers that included information on the what you call the rocket projectiles, right? So a lot of information here in North America is not revealed, or it is considered to be more secretive, or for reasons of research, you need to get a special permission or something of the sorts that sort of prevented us from getting that piece of information for our client. And for that reason, we had to find that in Eastern Europe, which was easier, not only easier to get, but those research papers were more authentic and more extensive. And basically all we had to do is, once we search them, first of all, they're free and they're available a lot more. Secondly, the papers that we got had the ability to get translated, like the PDF files, for instance, were easy for us to translate using simple translators, and we got the English version out of it. So in that sense, yes, I mean, if we think that everything is in North America and it is the entire world, then we are mistaken. In a lot of ways, we are missing out on a whole lot of information on internet unless we go cross boundaries and find that information. I'm trying to now look for a piece which tells you if you want to use like a different language, for instance, to do your search, what type of results you will get. And there is a very neat observations text here that I want to discuss, or at least to give you an idea how you can discover it, not only by just putting the wordings in different languages in your search box, but also by using VPNs. So
This section would be of an immense interest to me, Dr. Navid.
yeah,
I can identify something that
here it is.
Sergey may have looked into. That was, again, as related to the aviation industries when the Iranian government shut down a Ukraine aircraft over
Here.
Tehran on takeoff
Mm.
and leaving their premises. Now, he might get a different story published in Ukrainian using this technique, whereas I could get another version searching the articles in Parsi published. And
You can even use different search engines, like you can use Yandex, for instance, and it has got the English version where you can actually start to put in the words there, and most of the information that is queried is coming from that environment or from those indexes, and that becomes, makes things more discoverable. Now, this is the page that I'm talking about, page 294, and here you could see that we had used the news as the search criteria, or selecting the top, you know, buttons in the search by clicking on the news. Now, when I do that, I can look for the news that is talking about gun control controversy, okay, in Ukraine, and I want it in Ukrainian language. So what I did is I just copied this, translated it in Ukrainian, and pasted it in the search box. Okay, and let's see what happens. The search would return the results that are coming from Ukrainian International News Agency, for example. Like Ukrainian news is showing up. I didn't ask for it, but because the language was recognized as something that would give a better user experience or better results, if the source was actually coming from the language in which I have addressed, or put the source, or put the text in the search box. So because this is Ukrainian, is this Ukrainian language, Sergey?
Yes, yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah. So I got this result, and if I use it with English wordings of the same thing, I get the result that's coming from, different sources. It's all English, okay, North American. So that is one thing. The second thing is that if you change the default language from your browser, you would also be able to discover similar type of results without putting your words in that particular language. And here is another way of how you can compare what we call the filter bubble situation, where somebody is using exactly same words searching in North America versus in Eastern Europe. So in this case, we've compared a search engine being the same, the query being the same, but one person is doing it from Germany and the other one is doing it in Canada. So if you look at the results, you would find that there is a difference. Like these ones that are placed inside of the box are the results that are different from each other. You could see that. So there would be a difference in number of results. Like in Canada, we got 818,000 results for the same query, and in Germany, we got 373,000 results. And I guess the reason we were talking about this was for the way that certain searches has, if I can find it quickly, fine. Otherwise, I'm just going to go back to our original search. What I'm trying to look for is the abbreviations of countries and the language. Okay, right here, found it. See, you could see that if it is a Facebook in, let's say in Arabic, you would find that the Facebook will default with the link on top that says AR-AR. So it's Arabic, Arabic. On the left is, I think, is the language, and on the right is the abbreviation for the country. Somehow the first and the second one, these two have the similar language and the country code, but the third one says HI-IN. IN is for India, HI is for Hindi. Similarly, this is for Chinese. So once you get to learn that what are these supposed to mean, or how it sort of defaults, if you click on, then you can specifically ask the in URL to look into that particular localized kind of search within that domain of facebook.com. So if I did in URL ID-ID means that it is in Indonesia and in Indonesian, and so on. So here is the examples that I was referring to. Now look at this one. You could see that we have DED, so it is in Dutch, I guess, and the Dutch version of Facebook, and I'm looking for virtual assistant or the opportunity as a virtual assistant. Next thing is a notation that I want you to notice, which we'll cover as we go along with the complex search. I didn't talk about this one before. The hashtag itself has a way of finding information that pertains to tags. Tags is the technology, or you could say that some of the earlier versions of how information used to be found as an alternative to a search engine, or a typical search engine was a little bit difficult to navigate into by, giving it or giving it further filtering. So the hashtag was the shortcut which would tie up to the word, and that word itself would describe or discover all the information that relates to technology, for instance. So that is what is adopted even today. These are called tags, except that search, the social media has adopted it extensively, and because of its direct approach to finding something that belongs to or is categorized under certain words, that hashtag has a significance. The hashtag would find, basically in short, it's going to discover everything that is related to social media, or at least for anything that is going to be appearing in Instagrams, for example, in Twitter handles, in Facebook. All those will have the hashtag to it, and hashtag has a funny way of attaching itself to discovering information from social media, because hashtag is used in number of ways. For example, it is not going to have a wording that is duplicated. Like, it can also be used as a pseudonym by the user, but that name cannot be duplicated. The hashtag is also used to create a handle in a lot of search on social media sites. So basically, it has got a significance when you are using it alongside a social media site like Facebook or LinkedIn, by restricting the search within the domains, especially with the site operator. So if I'm going to use it with the Dutch version of Facebook and I'm looking for virtual assistant, and I use hash technology, hash jobs, more than likely I will find it in the technology section, where the hashtag job is also sitting somewhere. Another characteristic of hashtag is that it can work in clusters. Like, you could have on the same page like 50 different tags attached to it that would describe or somehow has relationship to the rest of the content around it. So hashtag is easily discoverable, and that's why we've used it here. Now, in the second one, you could see, remember I was talking to you about Gruppen. Now, Gruppen is the German version or German translation of groups. And Gruppen is not the word that is literally selected just because it means groups in German, but because it occurs in the URL of a website in Facebook, or the link has, instead of groups, you will notice it says Gruppen if it is a German version of it. So even though I did not restrict my Facebook search with the, let's say, German DE over here, I instead put the group in URL, so it will automatically find something within Facebook that has a link that pertains to a German version where the word Gruppen is used. So changing the language here would help. And the word technology in German is spelled as you could see right here, or maybe I'm missing an S, I don't know. So anyway, if it is something that you would want to restrict and take advantage of these abbreviations, you can do it like this, or you can change the words that appear generally as the category, or, you know, even in, you know, a lot of social media website, you could see that these are the common sort of words used in the links at the top. Even in LinkedIn, you would find the word groups in it, or you would find the word jobs, because these are sections or folders has these names. It is pretty much a convention and typically used to describe different areas of or different sections of the website. Okay, so let's just okay. Now I'm going to come back to our example right here, which I had originally placed. You can just look at this. This is what we are going to discover and work with. And this is for finding somebody's an opportunity to work as a copy editor, proofreader, copywriter, and so on. And then the minus is the words that we don't want to return for a reason that we want to eliminate the false positive in this search, meaning that it may have, you know, it may have two meanings, but we want to clarify the meaning. Like if we are looking for someone to hire us, then there is a way of writing. And if you're looking for opportunities where others have advertised or are hiring someone, then the way you're going to structure it is different. So to eliminate a false positive situation and not to confuse the search engine. Then we have a significance of these numbers right here that we have used. And for this, we're going to talk about the different ranges, or talk about the two notations like two dots, and notations like the dollar sign, and anything that describes numbers or works alongside the numbers as alphanumerics. So this is what we will work on. We'll take 5 minutes break here, and I will return shortly. Okay, this is, are we all back? If not, I can wait a few minutes. Everybody there, I can see. Hey, Ricardo, how is it going?
Yes, I'm here.
You're here.
Yeah.
Now, this query is particularly useful for finding opportunities for work. And you could see that in this example, we have used the word copy editor, proofreader, copywriters, etc., etc., and then the word jobs, which is important. I'm not looking for resumes. Like, I'm not the recruiter who is looking for resumes. I'm not looking for curriculum vitae, so I'm going to remove these two words. And recruiters, I don't want to be mentioned. The word sample, I don't require. See, all these words just don't come to you as if, you know, you are making assumptions. You'd rather be running a query and looking at what gets returned to you. So if certain words are causing the actual or not delivering the intent through which, or the intent of how you wanted something to be found, you want to find those words from the results and eliminate them so that they don't cause any confusion or irrelevant results are taken out. Most important in this is that you saw that I put in this query another operator in URL with the colon jobs. So I guess the intent was to find any links that would describe or take me to a section that talks about jobs. Then 2019 is the year I put in, not necessarily in front of in URL, but just leaving it there as something that could be found anywhere. even in the in-text or anywhere, you know, in URL, wherever it is found. So 2021 I've left and it's pretty much open. Then I've used the numbers 32835. These are automatically considered as the zip code without having to put the word zip or zip code in it. So that 32835 is identified for the city of Orlando in Florida. And hiring are the words that I would use, the jobs. So, you know, doing this kind of query, I was able to get something which is talking about the jobs in, let's say, 2019, but let's make it 2021 and see how the result shows up. So we found something in UK, it seems, contact social media, but the zip code. So here is the zip code: writer jobs in Orlando, Florida 32835, journalist jobs in Orlando 32818, 835 is here as well. So this is how the zip code is going to function, but the better use of doing a more elaborate search within certain range of zip codes is going to be more useful. And I think I've mentioned that query in that query is, see this is giving the zip code and it is giving, you know, everything else that you could see. As an example, we have used 32835 and I find all the personal injury law firms here. And another thing that you could do is you could use the word near me. Near me is the power word that you can use readily, and search engine recognize it as a localized search, and automatically it's going to deliver you information on jobs or whatever you're looking for, the personal injury lawyers, and everything near me will show up. So this is more powerful than just mentioning the zip code alone. But sometimes you want to be very precise and use the zip code for it. I want to look for a zip code range somehow. Anyway, I'm going to take this search query and then create a zip code range for you to see how that would work. If I put this right here and I give it a range by putting 2 dots in between and say 32839. So this is the zip code range, and see if it is going to find me something. Found me more results, and it brought in the zip codes 32835. And if I click on it, it might just find, I want to just discover any other zip code in there, 32839. So here it is, 32839. So it gave, because we gave it a range, it also found zip code 32839. And similarly, it would also be able to find in other results like 32837 or anything that comes in between this range of 32835 and 32839. So check one more. Well, you will discover that it's going to find the range, not necessarily the last one. It is showing me 32839. Maybe this is more prominent, but 32836, 37, etc. will show up. That is a guarantee. We've got to move a little bit quick, so I'm not going to be able to bring all of these results. So let's just go to another one as an example. And these examples are for the date ranges and the price ranges. Now, in this one, I'm trying to find in Best Buy that is got a link that I've discovered by going on the Best Buy site to see how it is structured for Canada. And this is how it is showing, like bestbuy.ca/en-ca. So we are restricting it to a Canadian version of Best Buy. And we were looking for the laptops. I've put it in URL because the section or the category is defined, so make it easy to be discovered. Then in text, I have not used the word review alongside in text, or haven't used in URL alongside review for a reason. And what could that reason be? Anyone can tell me? The reason is that in URL don't contain anything that has a section or has anything that includes the word review in it. In fact, in text is a better search because it's going to take you to a page that belongs to a category laptop, and then look into the entire content and look for these words in it. So the words that I'm looking for is review, reviews, rating, so these three words are getting compared within in-text. I could have used more instances of in-text with reviews and in-text rating, but I left it open so that all of these are discoverable wherever they're found in the body of text. The word Toshiba is within quotes, and HP and Acer, these brands are put within quotes as if they have to be mandatorily found for comparison reasons. Unless I have put each of these words within quotations, all three of them will not be discovered in the same content page. So, one of them could have been dropped. So to ensure that all of these occur in that page with relationship to rating, reviews, and review, I'm going to use the quotation marks. And then at the end, you could see I've put a price range which starts with a $, 500, 2 dots, and then again $sign with 650. So anything within the range of 500 to 650 is to be discovered. And if I want to run this, and by the way, if I don't use the $sign, even then the numbers will occur. Okay, so where you're looking for a price, it is best to put the $sign if you'd like. If you don't, the numbers would do, or you can also reinforce it by putting the word price just before the $sign with a single character gap as if it's a separate word. So all of that would work. But right now I'm going to try to run it in the search and see what it brings. So we've got laptops, and so here we are. And let's see if the prices are showing up or not. So the price range is discoverable, or that price range for those HP or all those models are showing, like HP is showing here, Acer is showing here 579, HP is showing 849, but the range doesn't mean that it is just, especially when you're looking for products, it may have other prices as well. But at least it will contain the price that you want to start with, and the last price, which is what is shown over here as 650. That will, there is some noise in the background. Do you know who that might be? Okay. All right. And this is what we are going to use for date range. Now, if we have to look for certain products with another query, this is where we want in URL the word laptops. In text, again, everything is the same. And then we have these words compare or comparison. And then to ensure that the comparison is done for the sites Amazon.com or BestBuy.com. Let's see what it's going to do for us. Amazon is there. Best Buy is there. So all these sites are going to come up, even if you don't use the site. If you use site, it is the only way you're going to be able to use it. In fact, let me ask you if there is another way that we can ensure that the results are coming exclusively from the two sites, Best Buy and Amazon, and nothing else. So what should we be doing here?
Site.
And site again, but with the OR operator. Otherwise, it will not work. So let's try it. Let me copy this one and place it. It's coming from Amazon, Amazon. Maybe this one has it, Best Buy is showing up, Best Buy is showing up. So now it is more restricted, less outcomes, like only 10 versus the previous one where we had, well, we have 5 results, but when we clicked on this, no, the previous one is gone. Anyway, so we restricted it with the 2 site operators, and the price range 500 to 650 is what should be showing up. So if I click on this, Amazon, what am I going to get? The price range is still under 650. Discount coupons is the favorite search. I believe a lot of you would like to know if there's a deal going on somewhere that you can take advantage of. So this is the query. It has in URL, in text, everything but the word flyer. In text, I've used discount. In text, I've used coupons, in text deals, in text sale, in text promotion, or. You can see right here. So I've not used in URL, I've not used in title. Rather, you know, this is where I feel that I would find most of the information. But supposing if I had used in title, because the title may have offers as well, like the latest offer might show up in the title portion, because, you know, companies like Best Buy and those big companies who like to promote something, they'd rather put it in the title tag of pages. So sometimes we can replace it with the title. What is this? Now, any particular query that you feel you would want me to do for you, this is the time, like for your job, anything that you feel that you need to look for, anything complex, previously you've tried, it didn't work, or something that essentially you think would be really useful for your search reasons. So all of you would be able to ask me all that today, because we are going to wrap up complex search. Since we have spent a lot of time on advanced search operators, covered a lot already. So let's look at some situational queries from any one of you to start with.
Can we look into LinkedIn as a source to see what it provides for aviation maintenance jobs, whether maintenance planning and or management operations?
Sure, but first thing is that we need to log in. You have to be registered in order for it to go in default to look for those pages. So I'm just going to pull this. Where is it? Anthony Frank. Okay, this is another guy. Doesn't matter. So I've logged in now and I'm ready to do my search in LinkedIn. So I'm going to now create a search query within the groups of LinkedIn. Now, before I do that, I would want to be familiar with how the structure of the site is like for setting, you know, the directories and the dates that it gives. Anywhere there is mention of groups or groups, I'm going to click on that. So this is the link, it defaults onto groups. Okay. So I've identified that at least. Now the next thing is to build the search query. And for that, I'm going to use the operator site, LinkedIn. I'm going to put groups. I have to be very sure if it is group singular or plural. So it is groups, GROUPS. Otherwise, it will not work. Now, what is the name of the group, or what is it that you're looking for, or is the company you mentioned? What is it again, Kian? Can you repeat it?
It's aviation maintenance management and or supervision.
Aviation
Maintenance.
Is it spelled correctly? Maintenance.
Yeah, just management, then after that will do.
No. So I'm just going to put the word. When this thing happens, is something that doesn't mention two words together, isolate the first word, which is anchor word or the main word, and without which the industry cannot be identified. Maintenance can be a word that can be replaced by Google, or another combination of words could be there. So I'm just going to use aviation as the main word, put it within quotation mark. Is maintenance spelled correctly? MENTENANCE.
Well, that looks fine, yes.
Okay. It's not showing up. Is there a better name? Like aviations is not mentioned in any group.
Aviation alone, it should be, or it could be airline.
Okay, what airline say?
So many, let's say as an example, go with Alaska, for example.
Is it Alaska Airlines?
Alaska Airlines. With an S, yes, there you go.
Does it even have a group?
Good question. Yeah, it is the company, all right.
So we should be searching in the company, not in the groups. It's in the company. Okay. Now, if I just get rid of the word company and I use and see how Alaska Airlines is, let's see. And it's aviation jobs.
Yes, that's more specific.
These are the jobs that are showing up here. So when I did build this query and I got rid of the word groups, because it is found, it is not a group that has it. It's the Alaska Airlines company where you would find this information. So you will always have to fine tune it. 58 aircraft maintenance jobs in Alaska. Here, take this query. Kian, you there?
I am here. I'm here. I'm
So
looking.
this is the query that will work for you. So any other query, anybody else? Well, let's put it this way. You'll have to give me one example so that I can show you how to, make it better or fine tune it. Right now, we're just trying to figure out if we can make certain queries happen, or if we can make it better or come across as something that exactly translates your intent. So where is my chat window? Kian, here, copy paste this one. This should work for you. And
thank you.
anything, Sergey? Anything that comes to mind?
I'll think of it. I don't have anything right from the get-go. I'll think about the query.
Okay, think about it. We still have time. And Lauren, Ricardo, Akintala, anyone?
I'm not sure how to put it. I've been looking for places where we can submit our architecture academic conference proceedings to be indexed. So I'm not quite sure how to put that query because they need to be indexed, but they're academic proceedings, not journals. These are just proceedings from the different conferences that this place I work for does, and they want them to be indexed. So
I mean,
I'm not sure.
these are basically indexing is a process based on, from what I understand, is that you want Google to pick them up somewhere that it is easily discovered if somebody is Googling for it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like a few places I found were Web of Science. What was that other one? I'm drawing a blank right now. Am I not thinking? But places like Web of Science, different databases that will accept conference proceedings and will then index them, and then they can be either in a database or, I mean, Google Scholar, I think, does that, but we're looking at a bunch of different places to try. Scopus, yeah, Scopus was one that I found. Indexing conference proceedings, so that might be something.
Well, conference proceedings is a subject. It's a title of something. But
Right.
here we are finding, I guess, platforms or people or someone who knows where to put it. So you're looking for either someone that does it as a profession, or finding the opportunities of indexing it in some databases, right?
Right. We're looking more for the databases because they've got to be reputable, so that when you advertise your conference, you can say that your conference proceedings are indexed in Scopus, Web of Science, ERIC, different places like that, and people are more likely to want to go to your conference then.
That's like, you don't want to do any hard work. You want the search engine to discover everything for you with just a magic wand. That's the thing about indexing, because I understand what you mean. Thing is that the indexing is something that you do on certain databases or certain websites that are famous, or they've got a lot of traffic coming. So it is something that people would either subscribe to, that belong to a profession or coming from a background that somehow has attachment to the type of or the title that you have. So those could be specialized portals, or even like Wikipedia, for instance. We are trying to get our site index there somewhere, or would like others to have a lot of mention about us. So Wikipedia is one general platform as an example. But in your case, like for instance, I just did a very short query, because I'm not sure exactly where to go, honestly. So I just put conference indexing and then online database, or I could put something like site, or I don't know. So let's just use this for instance. It says journal indexing the agencies. See, this is agency. So this is a blog. It might have other pointers also for you to discover, where you can index it. A newest indexing question, academia. Okay. And you see, when you go to these famous kind of portals, which you may want to make a list of, that talks about, things such as the ones that you are mentioning, like which could be the best sites. So there is a Q&A there. There is a forum. There is some sort of discussion that gives you the pointers. So it is something that you may want to do. It has nothing to do with scientific indexing. So conference indexing in digital libraries, there is a whole paper. It may not be the direct clue for you, but it could be indirect way of finding or picking up things from these documents.
No, that's fine. Just trying
know
to
what
find
I'm
the
saying?
different places. Yes, because I'm
Yeah.
just trying to find the different places that do this kind of thing. And yeah, if you
Right.
could, if I can pick up a name out of a blog or out of something else, that would help me to find where we can do this. So yes,
Like
that's fine.
our conferences, ISCD 2020, they have listed it somewhere, you know. So this platform is called ISCD, whatever that means. You may want to test it out and see if it is good place for you to index it. And indexing doesn't cost much. I mean, and a lot of times it's free. So if you know of those sites, first start with the free ones and then see if others that are charging, you know, reasonable price, you may want to approach them. Most that have got a lot more traffic usually end up giving it for free because they make their revenue from ads that are displayed on their sites. So that could be an opportunity. And
Okay.
you know, so Sergey. Okay, so we are at the last leg of complex searches, and I'm trying to find anything which could look. I mean, you have all of these in your website. I'm sorry, in your inbox. I have placed a whole document there that has all of these. Now, video verification. Are you, by any chance, any one of you interested in finding certain videos, or you want to verify video sources? Does that come across as something that any one of you would be interested in? So I can discuss it.
Absolutely. Video sources in marketing as
Or the
to
video clips
or
themselves. Like if
clips.
they're coming from social media, you want to make sure these are not fake.
Yes, anything that's related to marketing, setting up a group, let's say, within social media sources.
So the best thing is that you use a tool, we call it a YouTube data viewer. And the example is shown here. And you could, if you want to authenticate certain videos, you can use a data viewer from Amnesty International. It is free for anyone to use. Let me see if I can just give you an example of how this works. Video unavailable. It's called YouTube data viewer. So let's go to YouTube. And pick up Aleppo. We want to see if this is authentic video or not. What I would do is I would just take that link, place it in this URL, and this is called citizensevidence.amnesty. It's in the book. If you click on it, what it does is that, see, it's hard to verify a video clip unless you break it into frames. Videos is just number of photos that are sequentially arranged so that as they move from one frame to another, it simulates a movement, and basically it is how the videos are set. So in order for you to verify if the video clips are authentic or not, you have to break them into frames. Now this software, what it does is that it is mainly used for journalists who want to do a quick review or a quick search to verify something. But for anyone that has enough time, they can use other type of application softwares also that break it into a lot more frames. So right now, as an example, it's going to break it into 4 frames. Each of these frames can be searched for the reverse image, like right here, you can click on it. Second thing is that it gives the video upload date and the time also. And it has a conversion scale right here to convert the time zones. You can do that also. So when these are broken into frame, they get sort of matched against other frames to see if where the source is coming from, or if the image has been rigged or altered, or for some reason it's been taken from another place, or it has got other surrounding circumstances that sort of could be the clue that frames are exchanged, or they're they're they can be downloaded and they can be changed and then re-entered into the clip and uploaded again. So that might happen also. All those things are discoverable. So if I do reverse image check on any of these, let's say this one, I could find where else it is coming from or where else it is mentioned. I could look visually at other images to see if it has not been picked from a source that is not exactly coming from the original video. So that is another sort of thing that I had to talk to you about. In this query, I have used in title the name of the author, because usually the title portion has that, especially on their website, or the original source has the name of the author always. So I'm going to use in title without any problem. Instead of, we haven't used in title as extensively, if you have noticed. So in this case, I've used in title for author, and I've used in text the wording search engine FISNA, which is a phenomena or something that is this author has written extensively about. So I've put this within text and not in the title part. I could have done it in the title as well, but title is not too long with a lot of words in it. So might as well be best to use the author's name instead. Or when it comes to using things like words like downloads, or words like register, or in the title of the page, usually you have all these kind of wordings. So you can use in title instead. But here I've used it in combination with in text, the word search engine FISNA. And then if we want anything that may have a longer paras or a mention of the word search engine FISNA along with the author, but not knowing exactly what comes in between, or at least creating a relationship between two ends of words and a bunch of words that are missing between, you don't know about, you can always use around operator. And Sergey was not here when we were talking about around and the quotation marks. Those two were very important concept, and some of the queries we did with the round operator showed the usefulness of it in certain situations. So around 10 is the maximum number of words for you to know, Sergey, that are missing from in between these two words. That could be on the left or right of it, or could be the first word here and another word here, and everything else in between should not exceed the total number of words that I've marked as 10 words in between. So it is going to find everything else and find the article or the paragraph for you. Pretty much complex search covers all of this. So now that we have covered in the book you can find all sorts of examples. So I just don't want to be scrolling through it, but to give you one more example of the range of zip codes, I'm just going to give this as the last set of example. I'm just trying to find the other zip codes in between. So in the previous example, I didn't find that, so I'm going to try this. This keeps bringing the same results. Never mind. What was the one that I was thinking about? The telephone codes and email addresses. I don't know why we missed that one. So let's look at what if you're trying to find someone's telephone numbers. I want you to look at this query carefully.
Most of the time on that particular search, I go out to where people are now charging to make that phone number available to one. So I guess they're using the technique you're now going through.
Yeah, so here is the two area codes. One is within the parenthesis and the other one is out of parenthesis. So it's going to discover both versions of it with this area code. Is there another area code in Calgary? 587 and 825.
587, yeah.
403 in bracket. Let me just get rid of file type. Let's just get rid of file type. That's restricting it a lot. So I'm not able to discover 587825. Maybe Honeywell or that company doesn't have it. Maybe this is the only office that has 403 in it. So what I could do is rid of Honeywell, find any company that has 403, 4507 and all that. So let's see, 403. Okay, here it is. Where is it? 587, 587 and 825. Let's see if I can find 825 also. Predominantly it's 403. Let me try something here. If I put my name, Nabi Mansoor, and I put telephone or telephone, and in text I'd say contact, and then I would put here 905 416 647. Let's see what it's going to do. Found 416 416 416 647 647. These are all my numbers, and 905. So it found all three of them. Okay, so this is all I wanted to let you know. This query seems to be working fine, and so will this. So we did find two, like 403 and 587 we discovered when we had this query running. So this is another way of finding somebody's phone numbers, like could be all different phone numbers. And if we want to find somebody's email address as well, then I would also put here, like if it is a company, I would say AOFIRS.org. I would put it within quotations and see if it's going to find it. It's going to find my email address for sure. Education, and anyway, it's there, so it will be there somewhere. So AOFIRS, what was it? Or I could find, what's the name of your company, Sarji? Disruption 360.
Disruption 360, yep.
.com.
.com.
Any of this looks familiar?
No. Try 902 in the search
902
instead of 905. 902. Yeah, just.
Oh yeah.
just
So I'm
change.
sorry. Is there another area code or your private cell number? What else
it's
is
still
there?
902. Yeah.
It's just 902. Okay. I'll be surprised if your site doesn't show up with this. Disruption360.com should show up. So if I remove in text from here, let's suppose you don't have the word contact in it.
No, not the case.
You're hiding yourself somewhere there, right?
Not sure.
Are you intentionally?
Not intentionally.
That's intentionally done, eh? Because
No,
I don't know what's going on with this. I've never had this situation. This is never do I get into. Let's New Brunswick Maritime.
no.
Something you did, Sergi. I don't believe this. I mean, if it is a company, how can you not have an email address with disruption360.com? You obviously do have it.
Oh, it should be. It should be on the website. Yeah.
Then how come?
I have not looked at our website for a long time, but there should be a phone number. Yeah.
But does it have a number with 902 in it? Or is that the area code you have?
It should be. Yeah.
Big boom theory for retirement. Here it is.
One of the
At least you got this one.
It's one of the articles in the blog.
Digital disruption 360 limited computer. Help at 360 accountants. Okay, no. Disruption 360 net guru disruption payroll reinvented. Government info LinkedIn. My God. I'm going to search a bit more because it's now become a challenge for me, Sergey. So you be careful. I'm just going to scan through it and see why it's not happening. I wonder.
We have a page, hire us, and there is a phone at the bottom of the page. So
disruption360.com. .com, right?
.com. Yep.
Maybe the search engine is not picking your site for some reason because it's probably flash, a lot of flash in it. Disruption monitoring signal changes. Okay, I just copy it. And where is hire us? Maybe this is the contact page. 902. We've got info it. What is this page? Hire us. So you didn't use the word contact. That's another bummer. Okay. Which is typically not.
This may be useless, but Dr. Naveed, can we search it within Canadian market and or territory?
Like search what?
With the CA.
No, but search what? What is it that you want to search?
His company. His company.
His company in US and Canada?
No, just in Canada. Confined search to Canada.
I mean, it's not going to be difficult to find it in Canada. We just have to use the word Canada or use the word maybe
Let's say we were looking in the industry that he is in and we didn't know the name of his company, but we wanted somebody in Canada on the East Coast.
No, you have to give it context. Remember, I mean, you cannot run search queries so open that it will give you like hundreds and millions of results. So you need to define the industry. You need to give it a context in what reference, like what type of industry it is. if there is products or components that you are looking for in that industry or in type of services, then you have to mention that. And then if you have to do search on a certain website or a platform like LinkedIn, then you got to mention abbreviations like CA or UK or whatever. And that's how you're going to connect it together. If you're not going to be able to give it a proper context, then we'd be like doing like, this is what I call baby searches. Okay, so we don't want to do baby search. We want to do this like someone who is trying to find a company, let's say Disruption 360, what type of business it is. Okay, let's suppose the business is I mean, he's got like, it's a funny thing, you have to pick his company because his business is very complicated. I mean, if it is something that you can put a finger on exactly and it's a known industry, then it makes more sense. Disruption 360 probably is a marketing company or a market research company rather.
Market research.
Okay, so I'm just going to use market research, and I'm going to use something in wherever he is, or the area code 902, or if I don't know his website, then or the the domain name, I'm just going to use the area code or some other reference. I mean, I don't have any other reference other than market research. So we can either use the area code, the zip code, or the postal code, or we can find it in I guess the city that he is in. So what is the name of your city, or what is the name of your city, Sergi?
Charlottetown.
How did Charlotte?
CH. Let me just spell it. CHHR. Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. Vision Research is two buildings from me.
So could this also be related to the SEO that his site has?
Yeah, and market research is a very popular word. It's very hard to bring your site up with these words because these are not like niche words, but depending on where he is, if his town is small and there is only so many companies, or the zip code would do the job, and or the area code might help. But otherwise, for SEO reasons, just the word market research is probably very common, and therefore very popular, and hard to get a high ranking unless there is something very special about that site. So there has to be something niche, but you can find it somewhere here. You just have to keep flipping those pages. Eventually you will find it somewhere, and it depends on when his site was up, how long ago he put it there, how the SEO, as you mentioned, is treating it, and so on. But anyway, I think the searches that you guys have mentioned and are looking for are not really exactly as complex. Seems that we are pretty much okay with some examples that we had to follow. So to save time, most of the important thing we talked about already. The court cases, how are you going to discover court cases? This is where you can use these two, like in URL canlii.org is case laws that we get to view in the High Court, or whatever the examples of case laws are, they are referenced in CanLI. So I put this here in text: Molson Breweries v. Quitner. So we have to put it exactly the way they have set. In Canada, we just put V. In US, I've found the cases has VS in it. So we don't have that. That's why I've used this. The most important thing is that when you are looking for, let's say, certain sections in law, or there is a reference in legal way, how it is actually placed as a convention, like in Canada is a little bit different. the way it is set versus in US. So here is a very complicated example, but the important part is to see that there is an importance of gaps that we leave between asterisks. As you would notice that asterisk has got the comma, and after that there is 1985, another comma, and then there is another single character space and the asterisk. So it is very carefully placed, and this is where things get really complicated in case you are looking for words or you don't quite remember, but you remember bits of it. But of course you can use asterisk, but the placement of asterisk is what is going to define the missing part, or where exactly the words or the characters are supposed to be, and they're not there, and you're not able to define it or place it. So to say that the asterisk over here has a single character gap after the comma, as I'm pointing to, means that the way this thing is set, or the way this entire phrase, as you can call it, because it's in this in the quotation mark, is set or has got a specific placement of missing items or missing words. So if I had not left a gap of a single character here after the comma and placed the asterisk would get confused. It wouldn't know which place of the word is missing. For example, in true sense of how it is described in law, or how it is placed in law, there is another word or something which I wished I could show you. Here it is. For example, this is how it is set in the law. So if I have to put or define something that is a reference to a law or a clause or some act that has a provision which is numbered, it is going to look like this: R.S, then there is a comma, and then there is a gap here, and then there is a year, and after the year there's a comma, another gap, and so on. So all these gaps are mapped here as in red color, you could see right here. So these are the gaps, and where the gaps are not shown, that means, and the asterisk is replaced as in here exactly under where R.S is supposed to be. So you would have to make a placement of asterisk exactly at a placement or at a position which matches the original way in which it is written, or the gaps have to be carefully observed, or you have to ensure that when you actually create your search, you leave a single digit gap, as it is over here in the original text, which shows a comma after S. In fact, there is S dot comma and there's a gap. So this gap is denoted by the first vertical bar you can see right here. And then you put the term 1985, no gaps after number 5, and there's a comma which is there, and then there is a digit. It's in fact it is a C character alphabet, and in between C and comma there is another gap which is denoted by a single vertical red bar. And this means, I mean, it's not like we are placing the bars in real query, it's just showing you, indicating where the gap is. So this is another gap, and after the gap, we don't quite remember what lies up till here. For example, up till number 13, a comma, or whatever is over here. So we are just going to have to use that gap as a placeholder. And where we have the asterisk, it means that the placeholder requires for it to deliver anything that is missing. So as you can see, with mapping what is on top and where the asterisk is placed, you can tell what am I looking for. So anything that is going to be before comma, I don't remember. Anything after comma, after 2014, I don't remember. For instance, I don't remember this. So this is where I'm going to place an asterisk, and there is a gap of a single character between the comma after 14 and the alphabet C. So that gap has to be left before you can place the asterisk. So you have to learn how to, where to place the asterisk. So it does get a little complicated when you're working with asterisk, and I've mentioned it I've given some examples that actually result in finding exactly what is missing only because the placement is correct. If I had not placed the asterisks in a correct position, it wouldn't give me the right results. Okay. So this was important. I think that's about it. Basically, rest of the queries we have discovered, we have done everything that is supposed to include all sorts of operators. So with this, we can conclude advanced search or complex search queries. Rest of it is, something that you can read. My job is to provide you with the concepts and give you an idea of how things have to, work. And some of the highlighted portion that we covered are most important for the exam, and besides that, they're important for learning also. The rest of it is just going to give you examples or give you a better concept, or some of the questions that you may have had we couldn't talk about, they will be discovered. Now the next topic that we will be embarking on, starting our session tomorrow, I'm going to see if we can start with internet information sources, or some of the ways in which you can find information that's going beyond and besides the search query. And this is to do with online databases, some of the specialized search engines that we can use, some of the websites that give you free access. I will give information on how to get to those sort of sites, which you probably don't know of, but which is accessed extensively by online researchers, not only because they're free, but their information is pretty accurate. And some of the ways in which we can discover hidden assets or find information about the shareholders or the directors or the background information, some of the ways in which we can discover trusts and companies that otherwise are hiding bank accounts. We will see how to get to them. So those websites will be discussed. If you want me to tell you what chapters those are, then I can give you. I don't think that you will have enough time between today and tomorrow to go through them, but they are the, let me just do 2 pages. Chapter 24, we will discuss, and then I'm going to also do chapter 25, the deep web. What is a deep web and what is the importance of it? That's about it. Then internet information sources, like as examples. I mean, this is very extensive. It's just more like a reference chapter where you can find certain type of sources that are given the addresses or links that you can click on. So that's what we will do. Research planning, internet information research challenges are all read yourself chapters. We won't be discussing them. But we will learn about online data types, data collection and sampling, some of the methods and methodologies, which comes under the broad heading of traditional research methods. As someone who is doing CIRS, I'm not sure about you, Lauren, but if you're interested, you're most welcome to join us on these topics, because these are more to do with traditional research, and what to do with the data after you've done your collection. Like some of it will be learning a little bit about analytics part. So those chapters we will cover, but we will be doing them rapidly because most of it can be read easily. They're more descriptive. You can just browse through the book. But as far as delivering the lecture, we will only be dealing with highlighted portion, or the ones that we think are most important for the concept. Other than that, we are pretty much done with search queries. And so those of you who would like to go forward with the rest of the chapters. Now, one of the chapters we will be tackling that is going to be on Friday this week. And by the way, because we missed 2 classes earlier, I'm going to add those classes in your Zoom so that you can get to it later on. So here the thing is that on Friday we will be starting with a business of research. So if you want to skip the research methods and go to business of research, you can join us on Friday. And then, of course, the last portion would be internet law and ethics. That would take 2 classes. Any questions so far, or can we just conclude everything for now? And then, yes, go ahead.
Mhm.
Yes.
No, I was gonna say that sounds fine.
Okay, so good enough. So thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening and a good day to you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
nice day.
Everyone have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.